Hi, Jaguars. Welcome back to Theme Thursday. I'm so thrilled to be back with you guys here again. Just a refresher, if you didn't know or you haven't seen our other Theme Thursday videos, we are a Clifton Strengths campus. All of our students and alumni have access to their Clifton Strengths, so we would love for you guys to learn more about them and take the assessments, which we'll talk about a little bit more at the end. But today we are talking about a really cool theme that I am slowly learning about, and I have with me today three super awesome people, two of my regular friends, and of course, a special guest today. If you would like to introduce yourself, Clarissa, we'll start with you.
Hi, my name is Clarissa Tejeda. I'm the Assistant Director of Career Services at the Mays Center.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kaylin Freese. I am the Internship Coordinator for the Mays Center and also a Certified Strengths Coach on campus, as I've mentioned before, but excited to be here.
And my name is Art Olague. I am the Director of Recreational Sports on campus, and I am also a Certified Clifton Strengths Coach.
Yay, wonderful. I'm thrilled to have all of you guys here today to talk about harmony, which is a really interesting theme or strength, I think, something I'm kind of learning about now. I don't have harmony. Nobody is surprised by that statement. But people who are exceptionally talented in the harmony theme look for consensus. They don't enjoy conflict, rather they seek out areas of agreement. Something I heard interesting this morning, they get along to get stuff done. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciate that kind of definition of somebody who has harmony. So we're gonna jump into some questions that we have for our two wonderful people who have harmony in their top 5. And here during Theme Thursday, we talk about people who have it in their top 5. But there are 34 Clifton Strengths, so it can be anywhere kind of ranging. I know Kaylin has it quite low. I'm not sure where it lands on mine, but Clarissa and Art both have it in their top 5. So we're gonna pick their brain a little bit today about harmony and what their strength means to them. So, I mean, Clarissa, do you mind, what does harmony mean for you?
So harmony is one of those things, I think when I first saw it, I was like, okay, yes, I want everybody to get along, but I will say I want everybody to get along for a purpose. I really do see conflict as stopping progression, right? So how can we just kind of focus, come together, keep on going, but not only in the beginning, but also sustaining that and also looking at long-term picture, how can we actually collaborate? So in my harmony, I always try to find moments of agreeableness where we all can kind of compromise so we can find some really cool outcomes together.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I didn't introduce myself, but my name is Allie, and I work with Clarissa and Kaylin daily, so I get to see their strengths in action all the time. But I also get to work with Art quite a bit too. And Art, what does harmony mean for you?
So harmony is probably, while it's number 3 in my top 5, I would say that probably within the last couple of years, it's probably moved up for me. I do want to give you a background to give you my definition. So I had the ability to take this assessment twice. I took it once as an undergraduate at Texas Tech, and I took it again when I started my career here at A&M San Antonio. So that was about 5 years ago. Back in 2003 was when I took it the first time. Harmony was in both of my top 5s. So, and it was actually, so it's consistent for me. I can honestly say that it is something that is inherently a part of me. To me, harmony means doing something for the greater good. Okay, and what I mean by that too is that I also have restorative in my top 5. If y'all haven't gotten to talk about that, so it's even more inherent in me that we really need to figure out ways that we can make, not, and compromise sometimes isn't the right word, but where we can understand that there may be a problem that we have, right? There may be something facing us that we need to try and get over so that we can do what's best for the greater good. And really, to me, that's what harmony means. And if we had more people thinking in that mindset, we could probably get a lot more done. We could probably get a lot more accomplished.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really interesting to say, when I talk about, I don't really have it high on mine, or Kaylin's like, it's definitely not very high on mine. But I think it's interesting, harmony brings harmony to the team. You need a person with that strength to really take in everybody else's and guide them in that way. Kaylin, what as a coach does harmony really kind of mean to you, and what do you see in who you've coached that have harmony?
Yeah, so just for context, harmony is number 34 for me. So I do have my full list. So it's not very high on my list, but I do appreciate people who have harmony. And the comment that I want to make, or the advice, or the, not advice, but like the piece that I want to share is, so Clarissa, you mentioned that you like the harmony for finding that agreeableness, or that piece that everybody, that common ground. And Art, you mentioned how you like it for getting things done and accomplishing tasks. I think something that I find very interesting about harmony is that, and Art and Clarissa, you guys can correct me if you agree with this or not, but that for when it comes to the word harmony, if you think about it in a musical sense, that you don't get a harmony if everybody's singing the same note, right? And so you, as somebody who has harmony, you appreciate finding those common grounds and finding the task and moving forward with it, but you do so in a way that brings in that diversity, brings in those different voices to find that common ground and to move forward, move the project in a direction that's productive, right?
Yeah, I will say, I think I couple my harmony a lot with individualization, where I want to recognize the natural talent of every person. Again, how can we highlight them to make sure we are a unified front together?
I think I would probably go on to add that being in a position where I get to oversee professional staff, and I use that term loosely, oversee, because I believe that we're all teammates working towards the same goal. It's the very essence of harmony, in my opinion. But it also gives you an opportunity to view how things can be accomplished from somebody else's perspective. You know, at the end of the day, all I'm about is creating a great recreational sports program for our students on campus. Who am I to say that intramurals is the best way to do it, or fitness and wellness is the best way to do it? Sometimes we take bits and pieces of every part to make a great program that everyone can enjoy. And we're starting to do that more with our esports program, and that we're starting to highlight that a little bit more. So we're really, like I said, taking bits and pieces of all of it, taking the strengths from everybody, and getting us a product that's going to be something that is great for really every student on campus. And I don't think a lot of rec sports programs operate in that light, because they're so used to operating in, hey, we're all about sports, or we're all about fitness, or we're all about things like that. We're really trying to be as diverse as we can. And I think a strength like harmony gets us there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think since we have you guys here, our two harmonies, you both hold leadership roles at the university, and I've seen you both be leaders in so many different ways. It's not always a title. Sometimes it's just in the way that you interact with people. And I think that speaks a lot to your harmonies, or to your harmony strength. But, you know, what are examples of how it's helped you both in your, you know, professional world, but also for a lot of our students, maybe how it helped you as you learn and as you grow? Art, do you want to kick us off with that one?
Okay, sure. I'd probably tell y'all that I really do use this every day, and it really couldn't be any more useful when we're talking about how we're handling everything right now with our response to the craziness going on in our world. Meeting with my team, you know, on sometimes a daily basis, or, you know, but mostly, you know, when we have our one-on-ones and when we come together, having to arrange and prioritize what needs to be done for the greater good of our department. That's probably the best way I've been using it recently, because sometimes it lends itself to different things. An example would be typically when we're on campus, we're very much heavily weighting our face-to-face programs to be able to reach out to the students. Well, that's just not an option right now. So we are very much leaning towards our esports programs and offering video game tournaments. And so Travis has had to take more of an essential role in those particular things. So it is finding that sort of, where are we getting together? Where are we finding that common ground to offer the best product that we can for our students? And so really, I really am using this pretty much on a daily basis.
So I will say probably my harmony came so much in the lead when the May Center first came into play. It was one of those things where I was part of a team that there was only 2 of us at first, and then 4 of us, and now there's about 13 of us, and there's a lot of different personalities. So sometimes when we're entering into a collaboration with our various departments in the center, there are different opinions, right? To where maybe we're kind of at a standstill because we're, well, we don't know if we want to do it this way. What are other options? So I think I've really taken the role of, how can we come together? How can we find that area that we're all speaking the same language? Because at the end of the day, we all are in the same goal of wanting to support students to be dynamic, right? So I really have used my harmony to bring together our team. Hopefully my team sees that. I think if it's something that's really flourished within me, and I welcome the opportunity to do it. And I'm hoping that we've been able to even build a stronger bond because of the harmony strength.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting in your roles and in our role, specifically in higher education, but in many large companies, there are different departments. I mean, there's so much going on that it can be very difficult, even when you have, people who really want to collaborate together. It's just difficult to get everybody on the same page. And it's great to be at a university where our main goal is service to our students, service to all of our Jaguars, not just our students, our alumni, our community. It's really what brings us together. But it can be very difficult, even when people want to collaborate, to get that going or to get them on the same page, or because there's so many back projects. So I feel like that's a way that harmony really works well in these large group situations. And I don't know if Kaylin can speak more to that as a coach. I'm not a coach. I just get to watch all of you use your strengths all day. But I don't know, Kaylin, if you can speak any more about kind of what harmony is in that group and how important it is.
Yeah, I think groups really benefit by having someone with harmony on them. I know I've seen it every day with Clarissa in our team meetings that she sees different points that other people maybe miss out on, that brings the commonality together, or connects the team so that we get back on a path that will help us move forward. Especially since, like you mentioned, Clarissa, our team has grown so much since the beginning. There are a lot of opinions or perspectives that are getting brought to the table, and Clarissa is exceptional. Art, I'm sure you are too. I just don't work with you in that capacity. At finding the commonality between those two, or a larger group. The metaphor so I have my cards. We've mentioned these before. These little cheat sheet cards for the strengths, and for harmony, the metaphor, it's listed as smoothing ruffled feathers. And so I think as things start to build and build and build, someone with harmony can sense that and then find the key pieces that need to be pulled to make sure that everything is going to move forward productively and everyone understands what's happening. It doesn't necessarily mean that everyone is going to agree, right? Like, I don't necessarily think that anybody or that people with harmony want everybody to be in agreement. They just want everyone's voice to be heard and for the progress to be moving forward, as opposed to being plateaued and or moving backwards. If you guys want to speak to that, Clarissa and Art, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, so I think I wanted to kind of add on to what Kaylin was saying a little bit, in that I would agree that we're at least for myself, I'm not necessarily one to just say, like, I don't want to agree to just for the sake of agreeing. What kind of progress are we making? I think as we might move into the next topic of discussion, I'll elaborate on it a little bit more, because where I think that it plays most into is that if you're high in harmony, but you may not be in what you consider yourself as a leadership role, it can be a challenge for somebody. So I'd love to talk a little bit about that whenever we get to that subject.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting, Kaylin, as you say that, and as Art is kind of talking about that a little bit. I've worked with both of them in teams, and as somebody who does have opinions, but maybe sometimes doesn't see the whole picture, I've had both of them really say, okay, I like what you're saying, but here's the backstory that maybe you're not seeing, and this is why maybe you're not getting the agreements that you need, or maybe like this is, I can think of an instance when I was like, oh, I did not know this was going on. And as leaders, they're like, yeah, this is going on. Like, you just didn't see it. And so they can really bring in those other perspectives because they see the whole picture in a way that they just want what's best for the team. And when they can see that maybe somebody else just doesn't see, like, oh, why isn't this what's best? And they can really work through and explain that in a really eloquent way that I've seen really both of you guys do so well. But like we've talked about with every single strength, there are really great highs and there are some really big challenges. We just talked about Woo that last week, or this week's actually, and that has some challenges too. So what are some challenges of Harmony that you guys have really had to kind of grow through or still struggle with now?
I think sometimes I focus so much on trying to find compromise, I could delay a project. Where I'm like, no, let's keep talking, to where I'm like, oh no, again, I can't appease everyone, which it gets to me, I will say, because of my other strengths. I want to make sure this lives in relationship building for a reason. But I think what's helped though to kind of curve that is that I partner a lot with activators, Allie, Yasir, because they can really say, okay, you know what? Again, we can't find that moment, but we need to move forward. So they help me find the best option I need to decide on, and then I will actually execute. So I still have to ground it. I will say even right now, Harmony has been a bit of a challenge given that we are in a COVID environment right now, being remote. It's been a big, I guess, learning curve for my entire team. And I see that and I feel that. And I wish I could bring that sense of harmony, but I know it's, as we get progress on more, it's going to get better. So even we're on week 3, the fact that it's gotten a little smoother. I appreciate that, but I know my harmony has been really challenged the past couple of weeks.
So I want to speak a little bit about my experiences, not necessarily as a supervisor, but as someone that has had harmony for, over the course of time and has been an employee that has to report to someone like a director or somebody that has a little bit more information, and where this can be a challenge. And a lot of times what happens here is that someone can interpret you as maybe being wishy-washy or trying to be a people pleaser because you're struggling to find that common ground. And now, when I was a coordinator at UT Brownsville, and I had some colleagues there that, my fitness and wellness coordinator and my intramural coordinator and myself as a facilities person, basically trying to find ways to meet both of their needs, because as my responsibility was someone that had to reserve the spaces for fitness programming and intramural programming. And when we're doing things inside, sometimes one would want something and so would the other. And when I'm having to tell my director, like, well, it's really hard because both Raul wants this and Annette wants that, and they're really the same thing, and I don't know what to do. That harmony of wanting to find common ground, especially when you're dealing with someone that is an activator or even an achiever that's like, hey, we got to get this done. This is something we got to check off the list, and we shouldn't be worrying about struggling to find this. You can find yourself in a bit of sometimes a mental quandary, like, okay, what do I do? Because both of them want it, and I might be upsetting somebody if I give one the other, and that's a challenge. So I think I would speak to anyone that feels that you're in a position where you can't really dictate to somebody like, this is what we need to go because this is the best direction. It's talking to them in a group and saying, look, here's our challenges. What can we do to find this common ground? Because at the end of the day, we're still trying to find the best way to program for our students. What are we going to be doing to be able to get this off the ground where everybody feels like we're doing what we can to offer the best thing for everyone? So those are some of those challenges that we can run into there. People will find us as wishy-washy. People might find us as, can you just make a decision already? I'm also fortunate to have context in my top 5, and context to me means, what's the end goal? What are we always going back to? What's the mission of our department? What's the mission of our university? And if we're trying to meet the needs of the students, well, to me, then let's find that common ground through harmony to be able to get to that mission.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the words that's used to describe harmony can sometimes be a negotiator or a peacemaker. And not always is everybody going to enjoy a peacemaker because they want things to end their way. And that, especially knowing, you know, like we just talked about, large teams building relationships, you don't want anybody to be mad because they didn't get their way, or, you know, things like that. And that can be really hard for a team to take on and say, oh, well, like, this is just the way it has to be because it's better for everybody and I need you to see that. So yeah, that is such an interesting take on, you think, oh, I'm a peacemaker, like how amazing, but not everybody is always like gung-ho with a peacemaker. That can be really hard to be that person in the group. Kaylin, is there anything you want to add to that kind of question or theme?
Not a whole lot, just that, you know, Art, I really like, you kept on saying that people pleaser portion, and that might be a barrier label. Another barrier label is that people with harmony are afraid of conflict, but I think we've addressed that here, and that it's not necessarily that you don't like conflict, it's that trying to navigate those waters so that you can move the project forward. And if that means conflict needs to be there, then you guys you find ease in navigating those waters.
Yeah.
Conflict, especially FYI, like, it's such an intimidating area for me that I've actually had to pursue like other professional development ones, doing some trainings on critical conversations, just so I'm more familiar and I can make sure I can use my harmony even more effectively, because I don't want that to be a barrier, because I know it's pretty impossible to escape conflict, right? And nobody at the end of the day is like, oh yes, I love to argue. No, but again, it's kind of, I think, someone who has harmony, it's their mission to make sure we can kind of smooth it over that olive branch, and how can we extend it as much as we can to make sure that we do progress forward. So even myself, I'm still doing professional development time just to make sure I can kind of fine tune this to get it in a really good place.
Yeah. And what are some ways do you guys feel like that you've kind of grown in this? I mean, Clarissa, you're mentioning like different professional development or conflict resolution. I mean, what are some ways that students who maybe have this strength can help develop it? Or I know we're going to talk a minute about collaborating with harmony. Are there other ways that you feel like students can grow in this, not just in a collaborating way, but just in understanding it themselves?
So of course, like self-exploration, but also maybe kind of working on the skills that feed into harmony. So say communication. That's one of those things I really struggled with. So FYI, harmony wasn't always in my 5. When I first took my Clifton Strengths, I had maximizer and activator, but then I had a major life change, a death of a family member, and then harmony and connectedness actually came out. And at first I was like, oh no, that's so wishy-washy, and I don't want that. I want that maximizer back. But then once I started thinking about it, I was like, no, that really did help me kind of go through a really critical time in my life. And I'm glad that I have harmony, but I still had to work on communication. So Toastmasters was very helpful to make sure that I can articulate my words very carefully, especially if I am trying to kind of build that common ground. I have to use my words smartly. So I know that's something that I would recommend students who are high in harmony really do work on that verbal communication ability, so you do get your message out effectively.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%, Clarissa. I think that being effective in your communication is going to be one of the things that help you kind of overcome those challenges in the harmony. And you really have to be mindful of the person that you're working with, that they are not going to understand necessarily why you're doing the way you do. And sometimes it's not necessarily something they need to know, but you have to be able to articulate to them, like, this is for the greater good, and this is back to why we're doing these things, that we need to do them for, for the greater good of the mission. Something else that I would say that's helped me gotten better at overcoming some of those barriers is, and it really comes with experience, is that you've got to be able to read your audience, whether it's you and just one other person in the room, you and a group of individuals, and you've got to be able to see if these people are responding to what you're trying to do or not. And also, again, back to that communication, articulate why you're trying to do these things this way. And doing it in an effective manner so you're not slowing down the progress. Again, we've talked a little bit about how sometimes that harmony, you want to be that person that can kind of bring people together, sort of that ambassador or what have you. But at the same time, it's you cannot forget why you're doing this, and it's for that end goal, that mission at the end. What are we trying to accomplish? We're trying to get to X. What's it going to take to get there? Let's try and get there as efficiently as possible, and be mindful of what everyone else's strengths are in the other room. This might be more of a quote as the overarching for strengths. I find it that if you are familiar with your own strengths and how you utilize them, you have a tremendous amount of responsibility that other people in the room don't have, because you start to become good at reading people and saying, oh, this person's feeling me, but this one right here, they may not be. So I got to figure out how I can get as much energy out of the room as we can. And to me, it doesn't matter what kind of role you're in, whether you're a director, coordinator, a student employee, what have you. If you have that ability to have that energy in the room and create that synergy, there's a lot more satisfaction to be had out of a productive meeting than anything else that I've ever seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, being totally selfish in this next question, we have a tendency to say that here on this kind of series that we're doing is whenever one of us doesn't have the strength, we're like, okay, totally selfish question. How do I work better with people who do have these strengths? Because it is all about, like Art just said so eloquently, when you know your own strengths and you can see other people's strengths, it just makes this collaboration, makes this team so much better. Whatever team that you're in, even in, and Clifton Strengths has a few books they think about, Clifton Strengths in your personal life, in your, when we ask our students to take this self-assessment, we say, it's great for resume building. It's great for conversations with your teams that you might work in class. It's great for just general conversations and interview and personal development. But it goes so much beyond that, because when you're able to really have a moment to self-reflect, and as an experiential learning team member, I've got to say self-reflection is very important for all of our students, faculty, staff. As you go through life, you're always going to have opportunities to self-reflect and to say, am I using my strengths in the best way? Where are my weaknesses and where can I collaborate with others? And Kaylin and I talk about this all the time. I'm always saying, I need your strength for this because it's just not working for me. Or we have a big chart where we have everybody's strengths. And if I really need, somebody with strategic, or I often ask Miguel, like, I need your maximizer, or I need something, I'm not getting this isn't working for me. You using your strengths in your mind that is so different from mine, how can I do this better? And what are some tips to you guys that you guys have for collaborating with somebody who does have harmony high in their top 5? Feel free, whoever wants to go.
Okay, so I will say really call upon harmony when you know you're going to need high level collaboration and kind of a sense of calm. That's something that we can bring in very quickly. Again, we can kind of diffuse the situation, but also know that, again, this is something that I know especially is true for me. If you keep on bringing the drama, the aggressiveness, my energy is going to drain very quickly. So once we move past something, do we really need to bring it back up multiple times? I don't think there's a purpose to it. Again, we've talked about it, we've done it, let's go on. Because if you're going to have someone who's high in harmony live in that environment, you're not going to see the most effectiveness of them.
I couldn't agree with that more. I feel like that sometimes, even when I'm working with my staff, and when you have to put the supervisor hat on versus the employee hat, and they're like, well, you remember that one time you let that I'm like, really? We're going back to this. But I think something else that I would add on to it is that for myself, I get a tremendous high from people utilizing their strengths and harmony as part of finding that common ground. If you have a certain amount of self-awareness, in other words, if you know what your strengths are, or even if you just have a really good feeling about what I'm good at, let's put strengths to the side for just a second and just say, you know what, I'm super organized. I love being organized. Well, I'm going to take that person and run with it, because I know that if organization was a strength out of 34, it'd probably be 36. So I'm going to let that person run with organizing. And it's going to make me feel good because they're one of the things, that's one of the things that they're really good at. So have some self-awareness about you and know what you feel that you can do, what you can bring to the team, whether it's strengths related or not. And especially with myself, I want to let that person go and run with it, just because that's one of the things that make them feel good. So that's what I would add to that conversation.
Yeah, that is really wonderful. And again, we love hearing about everybody's strengths, but like Art just said, strengths are not always on the list. Sometimes you're just really great at something, and share that and be open to sharing that and developing that, whether you're a student, faculty, staff, whoever might be saying this, who knows? Maybe we're going to be YouTube famous after this. But, really taking the time to develop some of those skills. And that's part of collaborating, is knowing yourself a lot better. And I will be totally honest, I have learned so much through working with such a large team. I've never worked in a team this large, and we're growing every day. I don't know how it keeps happening, but we're getting bigger and bigger, and the university is growing and growing. Our classes are getting bigger, all sorts of things. So it's always a pleasure to have you guys here. It's always great to talk about our strengths, and great seeing you, Art. I hope you are enjoying, this time with your family and getting an opportunity to really reflect on what's important. I know everything is so crazy right now, but I hope we are all finding, and all of our Jaguars finding comfort that we can with our families, with our friends, checking in with everybody. Don't forget during this time, remain positive, remain as positive as you can. Check in on the people that you love. Check in with your friends. Check in with your fellow Jaguars. Connect with us next Thursday. We're going to be doing consistency. Ooh, how exciting. So you can always find that on our YouTube channel. And then in addition to that, if you want to learn more, you can go to tamusa.edu/Jaguar Strength. And we've got, all about Clifton Strengths. And again, we are a Clifton Strengths campus. We are here to share all about our Clifton Strengths. We have several coaches who are available for coaching sessions, whether that be virtually right now or when we're back on campus. You can always meet up with them. They are full of knowledge, and I love having any chance I can to pick the brain of a coach. So you can always go there as well. We also have the Strengths 101 and 201, so you guys can check those out as well. And of course, from the May Center, all of us here at the May Center, connect with us at tamusa.edu/Mays, mays@tamusa.edu, and on all of our social media platforms. There are several, but not just us. The whole campus has several different platforms, rec sports, all of those things. I know kinesiology right now is posting a lot about healthy eating and exercises. We're doing live workouts. I have not participated in a live workout yet. Sorry, everybody. It's not happening yet. But connect with us there always. And again, thank you guys so much for being here. It's always a pleasure. And we hope you guys have a great day.
Have a great day, Jaguars.
Thank you guys.